Over 253 lives lost and more than 500 injured. Several families distraught and 10 years of peace shattered. The country of Sri Lanka suffered a terrible tragedy on Easter Sunday morning.
Life came to a standstill for the people of Sri Lanka on the 21st of April. The day when the whole world celebrated Easter with their families as men, women and children sat together to pray. Terror struck the small island country, leaving several dead and injured. This was a coordinated terror attack carried out by suicide bombers on 3 churches and 3 5-star hotels in the capital, Colombo, and other parts of Sri Lanka. The first bomb went off at 8:45 a.m. at Negombo's St. Sebastian Church, 45 kilometers away from the capital of Sri Lanka. Exactly 15 minutes later, another bomb blast reported at Colombo's St. Anthony's Church. The third bomb went off at Petikaloa, killing at least 13 innocent children. Three 5-star hotels were targeted soon after. The government got into a huddle soon after deploying the Army, Navy and Air Force to control the situation. There was panic, shock and grief across the streets of Sri Lanka. ISIS claimed responsibility for the attacks soon after. For the first time in several years, an unprecedented attack had taken place. While the police began raiding suspected safe houses of terrorists, 2 more explosions were reported in Dematagoda and Dehiwala on the same day, costing 3 policemen's lives. It seemed the police had woken up from their deep slumber.
I went to the church, saw the sight and fainted.
I was sitting down, but my husband was standing and the bomb blew off right next to him.
Several questions were raised over security lapses soon after terror struck 3 hotels and 3 churches here in Sri Lanka on Easter Sunday morning. The government in fact admitted to lapses owing to miscommunication.
Not surprisingly, a blame game over the lapse of security began soon after. The Prime Minister admitted to receiving intelligence inputs from India on a potential attack, but blamed the police chief and the Defence Secretary, who incidentally reported to the President for not informing him. The President, who was travelling at the time of the incident, later went on to say that he did not have information about the potential attack. The rift between the President and the Prime Minister was there for everyone to see. The Inspector General of Police and the Defence Secretary were asked to resign.
Information was sent down, but the question is, how did they act on it? Of course, I don't think anyone knew it's going to be this type of backpacker. We hadn't had this type of explosions to this extent, so there would have been different assessments, estimates of how this would take place. But certainly there has been a breakdown, we have to admit that. What we are focusing on is what happened, how do you apprehend them, are there any other groups? Because that's the way. One is looking at the past, other is looking at the present, and ensuring the perpetrators are caught and there are no other groups that are functioning. That's how security be measured. We have a fairly large, we have a number of intelligence agencies, we have a fairly large number on the ground. All are functioning.
You are talking of a head of state who has the executive powers and the Prime Minister who runs the cabinet and with the parliament for last 4 years. So they can't use this as an excuse to say that they didn't know. Because the Defence Council is under the President. The defense ministry is under the president. The law and order ministry is under the president. So if they say they didn't know about it, then there's no point having a president who doesn't know their own intel report. What is the duty of a president? To make sure people are safe, your country is safe. So in this case, we believe that President and the Prime Minister both are responsible for this, and they were ignorant about the intel reports they got.
I myself went to the St. Sebastian's Church in Katuapitiya. I spoke with the bishop, I spoke with the parish priest, I spoke with people out there, and I took the criticism. Right? People were not happy with the government, and that is to be expected. After all, we are the sitting government. There is no point in blaming the opposition, for instance, or somebody else who is not in office. So we are responsible, right? We are not running away from the responsibility.
Curfew in affected areas was imposed with heavy security and armed men guarding hotels and all important establishments. Social media platforms like WhatsApp and Facebook were immediately banned. People across the island country were unsure of what would happen next.
Shops were shut and security was strengthened as soon as terror struck the country of Sri Lanka. People preferred to stay indoors as curfew was imposed in certain parts of Sri Lanka.
We are living in fear every day. I left my kids in my hometown so they can be safe.
Political turmoil in the country, coupled with weak security, seemed to be a major problem. Even as heads rolled with the government taking criticism for ignoring intelligence inputs, the death toll in the country had climbed to a whopping 250, with more than 500 people injured. We show you how the country woke up to that shock on the other side. More than 250 lives lost and families left completely devastated.
Coming 5th is my ever first birthday.
Sri Lanka woke up to a terror attack on Easter Sunday. While the death toll climbed to over 250, the small island nation was left devastated. The most number of lives were lost at St. Sebastian's Church of Negombo. This is where the roof of the church blew off after the suicide bomber walked in to detonate himself inside the big church.
At least 100 lives were lost in Negombo's St. Sebastian Church. Every street in Katuapitiya has a story to tell. The streets are lined with white flags and pictures of people who have passed away. There seems to be a collective anger against the government.
I heard big sound, but it is very strange. Thing is, I never heard about sound from like that, because normally I confirm it is bomb blast, definitely, because I know, but everything's silent.
I have not slept since the incident. There were bodies everywhere, some of them completely torn into pieces.
As soon as I heard what had happened, I rushed to the church. I fainted at the sight of all the bloodshed. My children were there. I was hoping to see them alive. I haven't been able to sleep since the incident.
ඔය හැමදේම තිබෙන බිම වැටිලා. ඒත් මම හරි බයයි මට ලේ දකින්න අමාරුයි. ඒත් මම
There was a lot of damage. Some people didn't have a head, hands, legs. Everything was in pieces. We went there to look for our mother. She'd gone to the church. The site itself was so bloody. It was difficult to look for our mother initially. Among all the bloody bodies, my mother was lying in a corner.
නෑ ළමයි ඉන්නවා කියලා කිව්වා. අම්මා නෑ අම්මා ඇතුලේ කිව්වා.
Every house in Katuapitiya was angry with the government, asking why innocent lives were targeted. Why didn't they step up security if they knew this would happen?
Coming this government, I'm not satisfied about this government. Thing is, they are nothing do at the moment, at this stage. After this incident also, because they know about this happening, but they don't care because they only secure their safety only because they never think about our people, civilians.
What does she have to say about the government?
රජය ගැනද? Don't talk now.
It's okay. It's okay. No.
Don't talk. No.
හොඳ නායකයෙක් ඉතින් හිටියනම් අද මෙහෙම තත්ත්වයක් උදා වෙන්නේ නැහැ. උපමනයි.
දැන් නිදාගන්න අවස්ථාවක් ආවෙන තාම දවස් 7යිනේ.
Can't sleep 7 days.
I have not slept.
There were similar stories in other churches. At least 40 lives lost in St. Anthony's Church, where people came together to pray for the departed a week after the terror attack. Irrespective of race and religion, people were seen giving a helping hand. The ones who helped relive moments of the attack, talking about a loud thud and blood splattered all over.
நான் நினைக்கல இந்த மகன் செத்துருவார் சொல்லி அந்த நம்பிக்கையில் நான் ரொம்ப நம்பிக்கையாக இருந்தேன்.
I believed that my son would be alive. Never thought he would be dead there. Till today, I can't sleep thinking about my son. The whole family is struggling with his loss. He was such a loving son. He loved his entire family. I have raised him for 28 years without his father. I can't believe this happened to him, especially in a church. I cannot put my grief into words.
Big noise because at that time I was sleeping, right? I was in the bed. My friends called me 3-4 times. I didn't listen to the phone because I sleep. Then I wake up. He told me you can hear the noise, some bombs going on in the church. He told me. Then I just wake up in the bed. I just put my trouser and I didn't take a shower and I didn't take a brush. I didn't do anything. I just run to all the way down here to help. So I saw people are running, big mass, like that time it's the police and the army, everybody's here. Then I start to help.
My husband and everyone ran to the church to help. There were people who lost their body parts in the blast. We gave them bed sheets and stopped the bus and autos to send them to the hospitals before the police came.
The bloodshed didn't end there. 13 innocent lives of children were lost in Betty Kaloa's St. Zion Church, 400 kilometers away from the capital Colombo. Pictures of the children before the incident show them praying with their whole future ahead of them. The suicide bomber detonated himself outside the church, killing at least 28. In 1 week, the police ended up arresting several suspects, including releasing pictures, asking common citizens to help. Tight vigils in affected areas with curfew continued. The alleged mastermind, Zahran Hashim, was declared as one of the suicide bombers in Shangri-La. His wife and daughter were later found in one of the raids and were shifted to hospital. The eastern province of Sri Lanka, especially Kalmunai, known to be the alleged mastermind's hometown, was tense. Several raids took place subsequently. The president soon after banned extremist groups the National Tawheed Jamaat, the Jamaat-e-Miladu Ibrahim and Vilayat-e-Sayrani in the country and imposed a temporary ban on wearing veils that cover the face for security reasons under emergency regulations. All parties seem to agree on at least one thing.
The All Sri Lanka Jamiat Ulama made a statement on the fact that it is not compulsory. We've asked the Minister of Justice to talk with the ACJU and prepare legislation with talking with them so they know how exactly to be worded.
See, this is something that we have to give priority for national security at this stage. And I'm sure the religious leaders will also understand, and the community will also understand that there is a security issue. Okay. There is a security issue. You know, this was never been considered during the LTT war, because we had a strong intel report and we had a strong network of intelligence organizations working with us to act on certain information. But now is a different scenario. Now is a different form of terrorism we see. We see educated kids blowing themselves. Educated, well-off kids.
The real impact of the devastation, however, was felt on the tourism industry, with 70% cancellations and hotels looking completely empty.
Tourism in Sri Lanka is bracing for some tough times ahead. At least 40 foreign nationals were killed on Easter Sunday attacks. In fact, Sri Lanka sees maximum number of Indian tourists every year. Post the attack, there were advisories sent out by the UK, US and India against non-essential travel.
While some of them prefer to stay and continue their trip as planned, reports suggest that tourist arrivals declined by 7.5% when compared to last year.
I was in the east, close to Ella. I stayed there a few days and followed the media on the TV screen. And first time I was really shocked, and I was thinking of, what can I do now? Can I stay in the country or shall I leave? And then I talked to some people here and decided to stay. And on Monday I came here, and the feeling is strange.
So when this happened on Sunday, I was hesitating to come at the beginning, and then I started to think, usually after any disaster happens, there is more security in the country, which makes me to be like more comfortable. I said, okay, much better to come, and I think everything will be alright here.
Initially everyone has told us that not to come. Everyone was shouting at us that why are you going there, you can choose some another place to go. But already as booking has been done, and the terror attacks were already in Colombo. So Colombo was already like in 1st May we were planning to move to Colombo. Initially the other places like Kandy, Nuwara area, they were there. So it was like we'll just go.
The government admitted that this was a problem, but the current focus remained on handling the situation.
Yes, there were a few bombs. Yes, some people perished. Yes, there were some foreign tourists. Our hearts go out. Our condolences to all the members of those families who are trying to grapple with this enormous sadness. But we continue.
After the LTT war ended in 2009, the country of Sri Lanka had remained peaceful for 10 years. It seemed the government was busy bickering among themselves and were completely left unprepared. The Easter Sunday bombings have left many angry, with communal tensions on the boil. Anti-Muslim riots reported in the northwestern province of Sri Lanka. Mobs targeting mosques and factories owned by Muslims. The police imposing an island-wide curfew, banning social media again. And weeks later, some parts still remain tense.
As the country of Sri Lanka struggles to get back onto its feet, the terrible tragedy that took place on Easter morning has in fact united people from across ethnic divisions. People now hope that the 10 years of peace that they had is restored once again. With video journalist Pradeep, this is Amitha Balachandra reporting from Colombo in Sri Lanka.